Rabbi?
You can just call me Max.
Hi, Max. Greg Halpern. I'm going to be joining you later.
Amazing.
For
nice
dinner.
to meet you, Greg.
And my
for dinner.
Cindy.
Hi, Cindy. And you're also joining us for dinner.
My sister. So this is what I look like.
I met Shelly earlier.
Yeah.
This way.
This is what I look like.
So, you can't, it's not appropriate to call you
You
Are you
can.
rabbinic intern?
I am a rabbinic intern. I'm a student rabbi.
So, like lowercase r?
Lowercase r. Or just like whatever.
Is that like Max or Maximus? Two things. Chicago about a year ago. Experienced a lot. I took the architectural boat tour, the architectural tour. I took the lot from Lake Michigan to Chicago, or vice versa, Chicago River to Lake Michigan. Yeah, so I went through the locking system, right? You know, the basis of the water. That was really interesting. Yeah. Then, I've been to Jerusalem twice. The thing that amazed me, I looked at that, but the wall, Hezekiah's wall, it's under, it was excavated, it was underneath, it was the wall that was built to hold the Syrians out, where after the Syrians had already conquered the northern kingdom. Built this wall. He broke down a bunch of houses and built a lot of massive wall to keep the Syrians. This is one of my greatest gigs. I looked at a lot of it. Hezekiah's wall, for sure. Hezekiah's wall.
Well, nice to meet you both. See you in a bit. Are we all set?
I mean, yeah.
As much as people can be set.
I mean,
Something
that's
wrong?
as far as I'm getting. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay.
I bought the song in the wrong key.
Oh no.
So we're gonna sing Dodie Lee nice and low tonight because I was like, just pop it down. No, I don't.
You like it low.
Yeah, it's my favorite. No, I really don't. I could sing it way up high, but then it's not congregational at all. I was like, it's super not congregational. So I was like, just pop it down an entire step.
What is it?
It's kind of. You'll see. I mean, I can sing it. I'm like, hello, my alto sound. Let me go get my. Let's go.
Okay, no worries. Okay. will remember to, what is it?
I said I'm glad you got the rundown because I don't know where mine. Oh, there it is. Could be anywhere at this point.
And we have candles and we have an aliyah.
That's a win. Would you like the music for Dodie Lee? Up to you.
No.
Cool. You ready?
I guess.
But you can announce it when you should too. Or as she's.
Why don't we just start singing it all in education as we're running?
Yeah, in the middle. I love that.
Page 11. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so nice to see all of you here. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Max. I'm a rising fourth-year rabbinical student at Hebrew Union College in Los Angeles, and I am thrilled to be stepping in for Rabbi Young for the next few months. This Sunday, as many of you may know, is Juneteenth, a federal holiday in the United States that commemorates the emancipation of African Americans from slavery. It marks the day, June 19th, 1865, when those enslaved in Texas, the last state of the Confederacy with institutionalized slavery, were finally freed, a full 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Juneteenth is an opportunity to celebrate the art and culture of African Americans, both here in the US and abroad. It's also an opportunity to take stock of the progress we have made as a nation and recommit ourselves to the pursuit of equity and justice for Black and Indigenous people of color. In celebration of Juneteenth tonight, we read the words of brilliant Black poets who have gifted the world with their art. We'll be reading some poetry throughout our service tonight. To welcome in Shabbat, we light our Shabbat candles, and I'm thrilled to invite up Wendy Fink to lead us. You can find the candle blessings on pages 2 and 3 of your Siddur.
Be a good spot.
Candles give light to all who behold them. So may we, by our lives, give light to those who behold us. I know. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with our mitzvah, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Wendy. You may be seated. Fly by Gary Jackson. Still dark, my baby girl leaps out the window to greet the rising sun. I stand below ready to catch her. But every time she takes off, without fail, her laughter calling to the orioles, calling to my shame that had I had a choice, I would never have taught her to fly. Somewhere there is a man with a gun who will take pleasure in seeing her skin against the pure blue sky and shooting her down. My own mother did not flinch when I first raised my arms and lifted my feet off the ground above her head. She only said, "You better hope bulletproof skin comes with that gift." Years later, I found out it did. And just as a young child flies to meet the orioles, so too do we join together to welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi on page 24.
זכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 2. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. גם בשמחה ובתהילה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue on page 22. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי אסור ועלי נהם, עלי היגיון מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני לפועלך, במעשה ידיך אראה. גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. ברכו את אדוני,
may be seated. There are only so many opportunities we have in our liturgy to express love. And Ahavat Olam, which we say as part of our Shema liturgy during our evening service, is one of those opportunities. It could be, as it says in the text, love for God. It could also be love for peoplehood, love for community, love for family, and perhaps most importantly, it's an opportunity for love of self. So I invite you tonight, as we recite the words of Ahavat Olam, that we don't miss this opportunity to either think about the people in our lives and the communities in our lives that deserve love, and give ourselves the love that we too deserve and need. On page 32, we join in Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael. Leolam vaed, ki hem hayenu, me'orech yameinu, uvahem negei yomam v'layla, negei yomam v'layla.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי
nitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam ba'am v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'v'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha u'v'tavtam המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem. Amen.
Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven sing. Ring with the harmonies of liberty, let our rejoicing rise. High as the listening skies, let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastened rod, felt in the days when hope unburned had died. Yet with the steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed? We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we meet thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. And together, we lift our voices to praise God in our freedom song, Mi Chamocha, on page 40.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osifele, nora tehilot osifele. With us, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף מלך, נורא תהילות, אוסף מלך.
One last time.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף מלך, נורא תהילות, אוסף מלך. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashki. Not yet. Eloheinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom, Lehaamidenu,
Shamreinu
Lechayim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Shlomecha, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Earthseed by Octavia Butler. Here we are. Here we are. Energy, mass, life, shaping life, mind shaping mind, God shaping God. Consider, we are born not with purpose, but with potential. All that you touch, you change. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. We rise together and join on page 46.
Adonai, Sefer Tivtach, Ufia Gitei Latecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham.
טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ועליו מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מחכה חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו וישנה עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדון אלוך מלך מנית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יעלו חסנה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please continue silently, and when you are finished, you may be seated. Page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim
We have come to that magical time in our Shabbat service, when we have the privilege of taking out our Sefer Torah and hearing some words of Torah read. So I will invite Brian up with me to open the Ark, and I invite you all to rise and turn to page 246. I swear this is like the heaviest Torah of any community I've ever worked with. It's lovely, beautiful, just heavy. That's true. It was a little lighter this week because we took the crowns off for Tot Shabbat, and then I conveniently didn't put them back on. I apologize. For our Aliyah tonight, we invite up Suzanne and Jay Seiden. Ya'amdu Shoshana bat Avraham v'Sara ve'Yosef ben Yamin ben Reuven Frieder v'Danya le'Aliyah. The portion can be found. We are reading Numbers 14, 21 through 23, which is on a page in the books. Oh, it's on the orange sheet. Oh, someone thinks of everything. Sarah thinks of everything. It's wow. Oh, okay. On page 1107, thanks, Al. So please join us along. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin V'natan Lanu Et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ve'ulam chai ani V'im lo kevod Adonai et kol haaretz, ki kol ha'anashim haroim et kavodi ve'et atoti asher asiti b'mitzrayim uvamidbar ve'yansu oti se eser pa'amim ve'lo sham'u bekoli im yar'u et haaretz asher nishbati la'avotam v'chol menatzai lo yeruha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah b'Eloheinu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah.
Amen. And Suzanne and Jay, we offer you a blessing. We thank you for coming up here and doing the Aliyah. And we want to bless you. Misha berach avotenu v'imotenu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Bila veZilpa hu yevarech et Shoshana bat Avraham v'Sara veYosef Benjamin ben Reuven Frida veDanya. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, Bila, and Zilpah, bless you, Suzanne, and Jay with a beautiful life together and in our amazing world. And we all say, Amen. And with the Torah still in our midst, our minds turn to those who are in need of refuah haguf, healing of body, refuah hanefesh, healing of spirit. If you are joining us online and there's somebody in your heart tonight who needs a refuah shlema, a full healing, I invite you to think of them in your hearts. I'm going to read the list that we have here, and then I will offer an opportunity for anybody else to add names. Tonight we are thinking about Bobby Becker, Merle Carter Prop, Sandra Cohen, Steve Convey, Nancy Danger, Pillar Gill, Michael Gifford, Adrian Greenberg, Risa Heller, Bev Hirsch, Ira Hirsch, Julie Holdaway, Shannon Howard, Jeffrey Colson, Lori Laren, Steve Ostrin, Marlene Perotka, Lonnie Pinkham, Ron Ross, Robert Slade, Harris Stutman, Janice Tankinson, Mark Titus, Aviva Bat Mora Leah, Avraham Bentova, Bona Leah Bat Ruth, Chaya Leah Bat Miriam, Sarah Rivka Bat Nisan, Esther Malka Chana Bat Batya Ruth, Yochanan Atzel Shmuel Ben Avraham Besara, Leah Bat Avraham Besara, Sharon Bat Avraham Besara, Tzipora Bat Sorel Velazar. And if there's someone who you are thinking about tonight, again, if you're joining us online, please keep their name in your heart. And if you're with us here in person, I invite you, as my eyes or hand meet you, please feel free to bring their name and their spirit into this kahal so we can pray for a full refuah shlema for all of those in need. We join together on page 252. Please rise as we return the Torah to the Ark. And I'll just say that if anybody ever wants to do Hagbah in Galila, please do let me know. I would absolutely love for you to have that honor. Father's Day always sneaks up on me. I don't know exactly how it happens, but every year, a few days before, I find myself in the exact same precarious situation, texting my brothers frantically, trying to pull something together. Well, we could get him some gardening tools, but we got him gardening tools last year. So maybe a nice dinner with Mom? I don't know, that seems a little lazy. Round and round we go. Every single year. And the sad thing is that my dad really deserves something nice on Father's Day. He's an exceptionally kind and loving and patient man who prioritizes us over everything else and remains one of my most significant mentors, teachers, and friends to this day. Throughout my childhood, my dad was the even-tempered parent. Slow to anger, calm in moments of conflict, a very steady human being. And so, of course, as children do, we tested him. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, we pushed that patience and temperament to their limit, pestering and fighting until occasionally, just occasionally, he lost it. And on those very rare occasions when my father let his frustration be known, we understood that we had really gone too far. One such instance has become a running joke in our family, a story seared into our minds that gets retold year after year on occasions like Father's Day. It was summer, and we were in the back seat of our beige station wagon. Some of you sound familiar, the beige station wagon. It was hot, we were tired, and for whatever reason, we started fighting over a toy. I don't remember why we were fighting exactly or what specific toy we were fighting over, but I do remember that it was persistent, yelling and tugging and whining, kids being kids. My father asked calmly, repeatedly, for us to share the toy, take turns with the toy, stop fighting over the toy, take a break for the toy, and after the umpteenth calm request, he broke. In what seemed like a split second, he turned around, grabbed the toy out of our hands, opened the passenger window, and threw it out onto the curb. We were horrified. And not, of course, for the reason that you may be thinking, this blatant littering that was taking place, but because this punishment was final, irreversible. Of course, we protested, crying, begging for him to go back to get the toy, promising we wouldn't do it again, that we would share, stop fighting, be better. But he just kept driving. After a long while, he pulled over, turned around, and having regained his calm demeanor, said softly, "You don't always have unlimited opportunities to change your behavior. Sometimes actions must have consequences." Of course, he was correct. Actions do and should have consequences. And the Israelites learned this lesson all too well in this week's Parsha, Shalach. After sending out scouts to survey Canaan, the majority of them report that the land God has promised is unattainable, controlled by powerful and violent people who would do them harm. In their misery, the people bewail Moses, saying, "If only we had died in the land of Egypt. Why is Adonai taking us to this land to fall by sword? Our spouses and children will be carried off. It would be better for us to go back to Egypt." This marks a continuation of the Israelites' long-standing distrust of God, seen most recently in last week's Parsha, Baha'alotcha, when they complain about a lack of food in the desert. Despite everything God has done for the Israelites, they still do not believe they will be safe and prosperous in Canaan. And as a result of their fear, they unintentionally create cracks in the foundation of the covenant. God responds in turn with anger and punishment. We see reference to destroying the entire nation of Israel, but God ultimately decides against this, proclaiming instead, "Ki kol ha'anashim haro'im et kevodeh." None of those who have seen my presence and the signs that I have performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, and who have tried me these many times and have disobeyed me, shall see the land that I promised an oath to their ancestors. V'chol minatzeh lo yeruha. None of them that have spurned me will see it. The Israelites' rebellion, beginning in Exodus and continuing throughout the subsequent books of Torah, the golden calf, complaints over food, longing for a return to Egypt, has finally resulted in the ultimate punishment, an inability to enter the promised land. God does not dissolve the covenant, nor break up the 12 tribes of Jacob. God simply puts a limit on the amount of times the Israelites can lose faith. As punishment for their distrust, they will wander in the desert for 40 years until every Israelite who was freed from slavery has passed away. Only then will the descendants of Israel enter the promised land. Ki kol ha'anashim haro'im. None of those who have seen. The word ro'im means to see or perceive. And it's quite curious that the text chooses this word in particular to describe those Israelites who have done wrong. Not chot'im, sinned, or mitlonanim, complained, but ro'im, saw. For it is the Israelites who saw the horrors of slavery, the power of God, the scarcity of desert living, they are ultimately the ones who are barred from entering the land. Certainly they did sin, they complained, they bewailed, but perhaps, more than anything, they experienced suffering and hardship. And at a certain point, it becomes clear to God that what they have seen is just too great to expect unyielding faith and loyalty. What they have been through is too difficult for what will come next. They aren't the right people to finish the journey. In his book, Faithful Generations, John Mabry discusses generational trends and the successes and failures of each adult generation throughout the last 120 years. The GI generation, the silent generation, baby boomers, Generation X, and millennials. As the child of baby boomers myself, I found that section particularly salient. Mabry writes, boomers saw keenly what was wrong with the culture they grew up in, how out of touch with real life and hypocritical it was, and how it institutionalized inequality in a variety of arenas. Almost as one, this generation stood up and courageously spoke out against injustice, inequality, and privilege. But more than simply seeing what was wrong with society, they imagined what society could be. They saw, in fact, what it should be, driven by values of peace, justice, and inclusion. Thus, their generational project was visionary, but the path from their visions to a reality that pragmatically reflected their values was not always clear. In fact, they have been better at seeing a better world than figuring out how to actually make one. Of course, this reality is not limited to baby boomers. Each generation has struggled to address the needs of their day, the war and poverty, death and violence that they see around them. And this isn't, of course, for lack of trying. My parents, along with almost every boomer they knew, were out in the streets advocating for reproductive rights and access to abortion. My millennial colleagues and friends have spent our entire adult lives fighting for gun violence prevention and environmental justice. But change is hard, and it can take generations. There's a reason our tradition teaches you are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. Sometimes we aren't able to solve the problems we experience around us. Perhaps we've seen too much, become fatigued or disheartened, or maybe we've simply exhausted our will to fight. Whatever the reason, we must be honest when we have reached the capacity of our efforts and be humble enough to give the next generation the opportunity to lead. Shalach, the name of our Torah portion for this week, is often translated to mean send, in reference to the scouts that Moses sends ahead to survey Canaan. But it can also have another meaning. Shalach can be translated as to let go or set free. So often we understand God's actions within this passage as punishment, a direct correlation between the Israelites' actions and the consequences that result from those actions. But maybe God is actually helping the Israelites let go of a dream that was never meant for them, of a land that was promised to their ancestors, but which could never serve their particular needs. Perhaps God understood that it was time for a next generation of Israel, those who had never seen the hardship of their forebears, to enter a land with fresh eyes and open hearts. It's true. You don't always have unlimited opportunities to change your behavior. And sometimes actions must have consequences. But maybe those consequences are bigger than just us. Maybe those consequences create room for progress to finally begin. Shabbat Shalom and Happy Father's Day. Our service continues on page 282 with Aleinu. I invite you, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach v'adon
this point in our service, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth. Just recently, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We take to heart the 440 Americans who lost their lives just this week to gun violence and pray for a day when such senseless bloodshed no longer exists. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death, resides this week. Giti Ahubim, mother of Orna Lang, Brian Artunian, grandfather of John Tice, Jeffrey Cable, father of William Cable, Isabel Cable, mother of William Cable, Charles Diamond, husband of Marilyn Diamond, Mary Hershkowitz, grandmother of Elaine Sinclair, Anne Letson, aunt of Eileen Stutman, Maxime Magid, father of Ennis Marcus, Bernard Bud Mars, father of Andrew Mars, Alexander Maybaum, father of Mr. Steve Maybaum, Judy Middleman, wife of Les Middleman, Yehudit Perry, mother of Avi Perry, Warren Pinkham, remembered by Lance Pinkham and Jenna Sagan, Roger Rodecker, son of Diane Rodecker, Alan Rosenblatt, father of Marilyn Diamond, Helen Rubin, grandmother of Renee Hagen, Hank Singer, father of Frederick Singer, Sarah Lillian Spencer, mother of Jay Spencer, Lily Stein, mother of Daniel Stein, Isaac Aaron Vidor, father of Saul Vidor, Fennec Vogel, father of Hedda Schnur, Anna Werner, grandmother of Daryl Neft, Naum Zaretsky, cousin of Rachel Perry, Stanley Fink, husband of Wendy Fink. And we also remember a dear member of our community, Marilyn Steiger, whose death occurred just this past week on Tuesday. If there is someone whose name I did not recite, who you would like to bring into this space tonight, I invite you, if you are joining us remotely, to please hold that person's name in your heart. And if you are with us here in person, as my eyes or hand meet you, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to rise and say their name, bring their name and their memory into this kahal, this sacred community. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We rise as one community as we recite Kaddish Yatom on page 288.
294.
294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra kirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon, Uvchaye de kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach leolam umei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Damiram Be'alma V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmeha Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. You may be seated, and I will invite Brian to give us some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Brian Offner. I'm a member of the Board of Directors, and I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight. it looks like we're getting more and more coming to live services, which is wonderful. Good to see all of you. Also, all of you out in remote land, Shabbat Shalom to you as well. I do want to thank our usher this evening, John Tice, once again for doing a fantastic job. Also like to thank Wendy for coming up and lighting our Shabbat candles, and the Sidons for taking an aliyah at the reading of the Torah. Our sponsor for this evening's streaming is Dwight and Irene Borses. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, in streaming land. There's a couple things going on for and I'm also incoming Vice President of the Brotherhood coming this next month. So I've got a couple announcements. One of them is the fact that we're having a dinner dance at the 30th of July. It's a Saturday night, and it is in your programs. If you're interested in going, it's $32 per person. We do have a DJ. We're serving some really good food that night, so please RSVP to the office with the payment. The other thing is we have our second annual Angel Game since I've been in dealing with the Brotherhood, and I actually have the tickets right here in my hand. If anyone would like to purchase them tonight, well, you can't purchase them tonight because it's Shabbat, but I can give you the tickets, okay? They're $25 each. If you went with us last year, we were all the way down the left field line. We're right off a home plate this year on the upper level. So I have those. Those of you that have already placed their orders, I have your tickets for you this evening as well, and thank you for that. We do need sponsors for our own eggs, as well as sponsors for our musical Shabbats, as well as our streaming. And if you weren't aware, we just had our first annual fundraiser, Spring Fling, and my understanding it was very successful. So I would like to personally thank Shelley Halperin for organizing this, and everyone that helped out, contributed, donated. This was an incredible experience, and I have a feeling it's going to happen again next year. So thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Brian. One more.
Don't forget to join us at the Oneg out on the patio this evening.
We will begin to conclude, well, we've been concluding, but we will further our conclusion on page 340 with Oseh Shalom.
Shalom Aleinu, Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom Mimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
And on with Kiddush. And I invite you to join with me and rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziyah mitzrayim kivanu v'avarta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. I always feel bad drinking up here because you're all like, we don't have any. But there will be some outside. We join together in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you to Brian and to everybody who participated in services tonight, and Catherine, of course. And please join us outside for an oneg. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.